The future has arrived. As the world and humanity itself moves faster and faster into unimaginable possibilities, old institutions that built connection and shaped our sense of meaning are falling by the wayside. In their wake, profound questions about ethics, our purpose, and spirituality demand new answers. Join your host, Scott Mason, in Season 2 of the Purpose Highway podcast. We will explore how these social changes will revolutionize our society. We will learn how they impact our own search for connection and meaning. And we will hear stories of influencers whose lives have had radical change from the inside and found profound connection to others and themselves through a new definition of meaning. The future has arrived. Are you ready?
When you're racing down the Purpose Highway, we want to make sure you're healthy and happy every step of the way. That's why we're proud to partner with It's NOLA, 21st century plant-based healthy granola snack bites made with real ingredients and audacious flavor. It's NOLA crafts small batch hand-rolled granola balls that are vegan, gluten-free, and naturally low in sugar. It's NOLA's delightful bites come in 3 flavors: luscious cranberry coconut, sassy mango masala, and dark, decadent, chewy chocolate. It's NOLA is available to both individual customers and for wholesale accounts at itsnola.com. That's itsnola.com. Guests on this show are already enjoying this delicious snack. Check out It's NOLA's website for yourself and find out how good it is. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another race down the Purpose Highway. And sitting next to me today in the front seat is the remarkable Katherine Bell. Katherine, here for the second episode in a row, is a former astrophysicist who is now a dream work practitioner. Anyone who listened to part 1 of this episode understands that it is mind-blowing. And let me assure you, what you're going to hear next will take it to a whole other level. This is the series finale of Scott Mason's Purpose Highway, and I wanted a guest that would give this show, and especially this second season, everything that it deserved. It is with great pride that I bring back to you part 2 with Katherine Bell. Another theme of this season that everything that you're talking about, again, perfectly wraps up is the secret plague. Studies have shown across the board that in the Western world, at least, there is a disease that is infecting every corner of our culture, and that is alienation and distrust. Mm-hmm. The ties that the historical institutions like organized religions brought to us that you just talked about around purpose, ethics, spirituality, the cohesiveness that they created gave people more room to feel interpersonally connected in a meaningful way. But as those institutions have disintegrated, there has been a sea of alienation that's resulted. And it is around the things that people need in order to feel connected the very most. Mm-hmm. You're talking about, when we're talking about consciousness, when we're talking about dreams being fingers of a larger connection, when you're talking right now about connectedness, about diversity of thought, even examining diversity of dreams and what those may mean for the individual messages that we might be getting, you're indirectly talking about the secret plague. Am I hearing you say that the work that you're doing can be part of a solution to that? Because if so, that's some powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think so. Because what the dreams do is they come to one of the things they do is they let us know what our blind spots are. They actually provide clues. Like there may be like arrows pointing in all directions, like at this thing that's missing from our lives. And if we have the courage to be curious about this, I'm trying to think of an example here. But there's something about alienation that starts at home. And that I think a lot of alienation is because people are not trusting themselves. Because we were never taught to trust ourselves. Like, mom's cooking dinner, so don't bother me. Or the teacher has 30 kids, and so sit down and shut up. And so there's like ways that we're not able to follow our instincts. We want to go play with the other kids, but teacher says, shut down, sit down and shut up. So that we're not ever taught to trust ourselves. And the dreams kind of erode away at that. And so that's why even the unpleasant dreams can be really, really helpful, because they're alerts to something is going on that is painful. There's something happening that is just not comfortable. And sometimes the dreams can like highlight something that's ending. It can like show kind of the end of a phenomenon, but it's very often it's about the present, like all the dreams of the cold gray castles that I had, or the old wars. I'm like, this is what it feels like to be alive for me. And of course I don't want to feel that. And so I turn off the feelings. But then I'd have no feelings, and then I can't feel joy. And I talk about near-death experience. I had, I don't know if I call it exactly a near-death experience, but I had the case where I denied my literal physical feelings for so long, for 3 days, that my appendix ruptured when I was 42. So I was not a kid. Oh, did I not tell you this story in the pre? No. I was in a marriage that wasn't going that very well, and I was pretending it was fine. I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And on vacation, I got this pain in my gut, and I'm like, okay, it hurts, but I'll cook dinner. I can do it. And I just ignored this pain for 3 days, and I could have died on the bathroom floor, but my body saved me, because in the middle of the night, I felt this pop. And something
on your side, I assume?
Inside of my gut. And I felt something trickling down inside my body. And I thought, oh, good.
What?
Yes. But my brain was so out of it. I thought, oh, good. Now I'll feel better. Like I thought it was some blockage in my intestines.
Right.
But my friend who was staying in the other room came in. It was 3:00 in the morning. He said, you're crying just got a lot louder. We're going to the hospital right now. And I'm like, but wait a minute. I was like, I guess so. And, the doctor said that was really close, that I could have died. And it was because of ignoring my feelings. I was so good at suppressing my feelings and saying, nope, I got it. I can tough it out. I don't have to be happy. I don't have to feel anything. I don't have to know that this marriage sucks. Like, I don't have to know any of that. But then I came face to face with how much I had abandoned myself, and how much those feelings were valuable, even the painful ones, perhaps even especially the painful ones. They have information. Yeah.
That's part of why I'm, again, silent is not just the power of that story, but I can relate to it so much. And unfortunately, I never had appendicitis. But a theme that we're going to be dealing with during the next season of this show is the impact of letting your heart clog because of emotional suppression. A lot of times, and you know this, you worked in a large organization, there are behaviors that are considered unacceptable. There are feelings that are considered unacceptable. Sometimes having feelings themselves that's considered an unacceptable mode of being. Having cracks in our personal lives that could impact our performance, or that could shave away the veneer that we're wanting to present to the world, could have dramatic consequences, at least in the myths, or as you probably would frame it, the dreams that we tell ourselves when we're awake. And when the hearts clog, disaster follows. Example I actually put on my LinkedIn account today, although it's nowhere near as dramatic as yours, was I had rosacea for years. as I was suppressing my emotions. When I changed my mentality and shifted the myths that I was living, shifted the dreams that I had for myself. You can look at me now. I don't have any rosacea, and I haven't for years. No. So you're really going to be speaking to a lot of people, and this is the sort of stuff that people need to hear, because what you're talking about is an answer for that pain. Now, speaking of the pathway to that answer, is there core symbology, or are there rules around dream work and what things can mean? Are there certain things where you say, okay, you're having a dream about being underground. That means blah, blah, blah. Or you're having a dream about water or the sky or your spouse. That means, or is there some other set of rules that you have when you do the work that you do with folks that are coming to you that are in need?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. Well, certainly it's very common for people who are curious about their dreams to Google, what does a snake mean?
Yeah.
What does the ocean mean? And these are very rich symbols. But I like to start with the actual experience of the dream. That's experiential dream work. Because what does it actually feel like to be in that dream? And what feelings come up? Eugene Gendling says that the dream itself is like a pictorial representation of a new feeling. So you can think of like the sense of the being in the zebra herd, like being part of the zebra tribe here was something new. And I could think about it as being part of the zebra tribe, which is way more concrete than thinking, wow, now I finally know what it feels like to belong, which is like this really abstract thing, but it means the same thing. But to feel like I'm part of that zebra tribe is way more juicy than like, oh, now I know what it feels like to be part of a group. You know, it's kind of dry. Right. So starting with the experience of what feeling comes up and how is that familiar from waking life, or how is that new? That the feeling could be, you know, something like the zebra thing was something opening up, whereas the cold castles was like, oh God, that one again. Something familiar. Recurring dreams are often something familiar. Mm-hmm. So that's one. And then number two, I would say, is personal association. Like if you're dreaming about the ocean, do you like the ocean? Or did you have the experience of nearly drowning at one point, so you're terrified of the ocean? That can really shift the meaning of that symbol. So what are your personal experiences with the situation in the dream? That association, the personal association, can be a powerful way to start to unpack what the dream is what the gift the dream is bringing to you. Wow. So there is symbolism. So you can go to like the third step might be like, so go get a book. Like I think it's called Animal Speak, where you can look at the meanings of all these different animals, or you can Google such things. But I find that that's not the place to start. It may give you ideas, though. So it may give you some ideas of how to work with the dream. But basically, my main thing is to respect the dream as it came to me, as I remember it, and to just concentrate on deepening the dream. Like I'm thinking about breathing. Mm-hmm. Breathe all day, every day, all night. Most of the time, we don't think about it. And yet there are many spiritual practices that actually center around us deepening the breath, like meditation, pranayama, yoga, there's many ways that deepening the breath enhances the healing effect of it. But we don't need to understand what does that mean. We just know that it happens. So I feel similarly about dreams, that if we deepen the dream and like going into the dream and trusting the dream, saying that there's something valuable here for me, and that bringing it into my whole body, that is the way I can take the part of the dream and deepen its work on me. So that's the experiential part, is just go into the experience. So you can draw the dream. That's extremely helpful. And whatever you draw is fine. It can be abstract.
Good,
it can be
because I can't draw.
It doesn't matter. So maybe stick figures, or maybe like a big wash of blue, or But as you're drawing, think about the dream and kind of feel like, I just got the urge to put this like red over here. I'm going to put some red over here. And then I'm thinking about, the zebra or whatever. I'm thinking about the dream. And then now I think I want to put a little black around the edges of that. And so like to be thinking about the dream and feeling the dream while you're drawing, it can be super helpful. And the art on my wall there is all paintings I've done from my dreams.
Really?
Yeah, and it just helps me to really drop into the moment of the dream. And then the picture itself can become a talisman. If you want to put it up, if you feel comfortable, then that's like a reminder of the dream. Also, journaling a dream is a way to honor the dream. Just write the dream out, maybe even write it out again, explore something, take the part of the dream. Like, what if I'm one of the zebras in the dream? What if, and I'm looking at this human standing here? What is that like taking the part of the things in the dream? There's this idea that all the elements of a dream are parts of the dreamer. And they're the parts of me that I'm not so comfortable taking on. So you can think of some of the dreams I've already shared. But even the man playing piano.
Yeah.
Even if I postulate he's some external force in my dream, there's also a way he's a part of me. And there's a part of me. And I can imagine myself playing the piano, looking at this woman in a beautiful gown and just feeling the love. And then I get to feel that love for myself. So there's all kinds of ways to deepen the dream without having to tear into the symbology of it.
So with that in mind,
yeah.
I want you to proceed into the next part of this discussion with the following understanding in place, that my audience is my family. Anyone who is listening to or watching this, I want them to understand that their homeboy lets down his guard with them. Don't worry about my comfort or discomfort when I ask you the following questions. Perhaps if, as you've said, talking about dreams can take us to a place of discomfort, by dealing with discomfort that I have, I can help, and we can help together other folks understand that the possibility for dealing with areas in their lives that they might be uncomfortable with is possible as well.
Yes.
You promised, and I've been so excited about this, that we would be able to have a discussion of 3 of my dreams.
Yes.
So we're going to get to that now, and then we're going to ask you one last set of questions, and then we are going to unfortunately have to end this show for this time, but we're going to talk about future visits between you and me in the future after that. Now, here's dream number 1. And like I said, I will go there, so don't worry about that. I have a recurring dream that I am in Minnesota, which is where I went to college. And I go to a mall, a large mall. And in that mall is a major department store that was there when I was in college called Dayton's. And I go up an escalator to get into what appears to be the main floor of that mall. And on the main floor, there's a men's department, and I'm looking for shirts and I'm looking for ties. And people may try and help me or may ask for help, but I don't ever quite find what I want. Then eventually I go up an escalator, and in that escalator, there is a skyway, as there are in the city of Minneapolis, lots of these. I go on a skyway outside of this department store. And while I'm going outside, as I'm walking through the department store, by the way, I'm going through it's a massive department store. So I'm walking down a main aisle to get to this skyway. There are perfume departments and women's clothes departments and hardware or housewares, all that sort of stuff on the way. But eventually I'm out of that mall or out of that department store. And I find a back part of this mall at the other entrance that's empty. And so I usually go up another escalator, another flight, and find a 2-story men's store that is in this still desolate, empty part of the mall, but it's full of stuff. Skinny ties and really cool shirts that I like are there, and I think they fit me. There's usually a nicely dressed service person there who is able to help me. Sometimes I'll go up onto the second floor and find maybe coats or things that I like. That's the dream. And I've had it hundreds of times.
Oh my goodness. Very cool. So, I love that there's like a repetition within the dream, which is always very interesting, that going up, and then there's a men's store and a men's store. So I'm kind of feeling into those different moments. So like, I like it to invite you to think about the first experience of the first men's store, where you're looking for something. Maybe someone helps you, maybe they don't. And you just can't find what you're looking for. So like, maybe just take a moment and feel into that sense of, I'm not finding what I'm looking for. Anxiety
and terror even.
It's
a low grade. I'm not screaming, but a terror. I'm anxious about it.
You know what? I think a lot of people have a lot of fear running. I know I did, running every day and not acknowledging it. Because we're doing what we have to do. And so like, I'm wondering that, I just want to say, like, for the listeners and for you, that there's often this low grade but underlying terror that maybe I'm not fitting in, maybe I'm not doing what I need to do, maybe this world is not working out the way I want. But whatever it is, that there's something that's scary. And so it isn't just frustrating, like, I can't find but there's this underlying fear. So thank you, Scott, for going there. And like, just as you're feeling in that moment of like, I can't find what I want. I can't find what I resonate with. Is that familiar from waking life?
Wow. When you talked earlier about your own not fitting into the framework that your family of scientists had set in these expectations, I could really relate to that, because I was an attorney and an executive for years, expected to think in this highly linear way, having to look a certain way that I didn't feel comfortable with, having to project a certain image that I didn't feel comfortable with, and surrounded by people that I felt just kind of didn't get me.
Right. So here's this shirt and tie. You're looking for a shirt, and here you are, shirt and tie. Like, that's how we present ourselves to the world. And I can't find, it doesn't fit. Like, being a lawyer for you doesn't fit. So there's some sense of like, it's just not right. And so I think, that's really tender there, but I love that you don't give up. And you go, you leave that store, and then you go up. So what is the feeling of going up? Because it happens at least 3 times in the dream. So you're going up and then you go up. What does that feel like as you imagine going up? So escalator, I think you said. Yeah.
It is looking, well, I'm really going to keep it real here. I may make some enemies. One thing that I felt working for government in particular, as long as I did, was that I was repeatedly, if y'all knew me in government, this isn't about you, it's about everybody else. I felt I was swimming with minnows. When I meditate, I dream, and the visions that come to my mind are about rising. I always believed I was capable of more than what expectations people had of me, both as a child. My mom was a factory worker. My dad worked for the Highway Patrol. I went to a rural high school. No one expected Scott to ever be anything. And then government work. The greatest fantasy that a lot of people had was to, write the best form that someone would have to fill out somewhere. That really wasn't the scope of my vision for my life, and with no disrespect to anybody else, at least publicly. So
your meditations are about going up.
Always.
Yeah, always. So here is coming into your dreams. This rising, this sense of this is not right. I'm going to go up.
My avatar, Helios, always rises to the top of the sky.
That's right. That's right. And so you rise up. And you go, I think you go out of that department store and you pass these housewares and like, there was like women's things kind of came to mind.
Yeah.
There was like kitchenware. I don't remember
perfume
what
and stuff like that. Perfume. I don't care about, but.
And so there's something like, okay, not that. Yeah. That's not it either. No, I'm not going to go in there. Right? Like I want men's, like men. I'm a man. I'm a store. I'm speaking as a dreamer. Like I want a men's store. That's what's important to me. And just, also saying that's also your preference sexually, that this is what I want.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because one detail that I forgot to mention is in the first department store, when I'm asking for help, it actually or when I'm being asked for help, when that happens, it actually usually is a woman that's asking me for help.
Interesting.
Never caught.
Okay. Doesn't fit. So that one store there, the feelings, even though it may superficially look like what I need, there's shirts and ties here, but they're not what I want. And there's a woman here, that's not what I want. And so I go up. And so, because I know that I can go up, I meditate. I know that's possible. And then I go into another men's store. Am I getting this right?
Yeah.
Just be sure to correct me if I'm missing anything. Okay. So then I'm in this other men's store. So now I want you to feel into what that is like, and how it's different from being in the first men's store.
Fewer people. I'm usually the only person in the store.
Okay.
But there is more that I like, and it's like a whole store devoted to things that I like. Or like I can find more of what I like, more than one of what I like, by the way.
It's because it's just for me. Like, the store is for me. I'm the dreamer. If I'm the dreamer, I'm the only one there. It's really my store. And I find more than one of what I want. So is there some way that I've learned to choose to be in this place? So anyway, I want to go back to what I was just asking, because I don't want to run over your experience here, which is like to compare that feeling of what is it like to be in the store where it's all about me and I have options, compared to this other store where it was much more limited and I'm just not feeling it.
I wonder if this relates to dream number 2. Can we go to that?
Sure.
Thank you. Unless there's something else you want.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that these are 2 states that are really, that you might notice in waking life.
Yeah.
Like, there may be times when you feel like you're on your game and you're like, everything is coming out right. I got just the right time. And there may be other times when you're like, I just don't really like it here. And so you can bring those images, dream images, into your mind when you're awake. And that'll help you kind of navigate those waking life experiences.
I love it. And
so, yes,
that's totally doable, actually.
Okay. Simple, isn't it? But that's like a spiritual practice.
Yeah. In the other recurring dream, and again, this has variants. The second of the 3, because the third one, I'm saving the juiciest for the last. The second one, I am usually journeying to a city that's not my own, or a weird remote part of New York City where I live that I've never discovered. And I find a gigantic record store. Dating me. Yes, I know. I'm only 26, but I still dream about record stores. I don't know why. But in any event, I find they have rare records, and they have stack after stack, usually 12-inch singles. And I'm flipping through all these 12-inch singles, and I always find a rare Donna Summer record. And I'm searching, and I check to see if I have enough money for that. And it's something no one else has, and I've never seen before. And I wake up.
What is the feeling in the dream when you find that record? What is that like?
Excitement, disbelief, and I have to double check it all the time. And I'm like, does this really? And there may have been other rare records that I find, and I have to check my budget to see do I have enough money for all of them.
Well, I would say when it comes to recurring dreams, both of these have like kind of happy endings. Right?
Good. Well,
that's the kind of recurring dream you want to have. Right?
That's true.
But I don't want to, I'm not belittling this, but there's something like, is there some way, maybe I'm just going to riff on that for a second. Like, is there some way that I can't believe that I'm actually found something that really works for me? Is there some way why is the dream repeating it? Is there some way that I'm not letting it in? It's too hard for me to let in that, wow, I found a store that has just what I want. And this record, oh my God. I've been looking for this record, or, I didn't know that, this record is perfect.
I have an insatiable, intense drive. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, you can't understand how deep and intense my drive is unless you're me. Mm-hmm. If I tell you, you won't believe me, or you still will underestimate it. And that seems to be an answer to your question.
So my question to you is, do you believe how intense your drive is? Like you say this, so people say things, and not just you, but everybody, people say,
we're keeping it
but
real.
like let it in. Like, is it like, maybe it's true that you do have, I mean, talk about a drive, like the turntables, it's something that's spinning around. It's very different from the streaming thing where you just plug in a little stick but there's something that, is this something that you haven't really let in on a super deep level that I'm not only different from other people, I have this intense drive, and I'm getting somewhere. I'm finding this part of New York I never even knew existed. This part of myself I never knew existed. And here is this album. Well, tell me about Donna Summers. What is she, her music, or what is she to you?
She was my favorite artist when I was a boy. She's still my favorite artist. But it's interesting. I grew up in rural Kansas, and in the era that I was in, that I grew up, like I was right at the height of her popularity, of disco's popularity, and then suddenly it turned overnight. And now people who have studied this backlash against disco, because there has been the study of like rock music historians, pop music historians, but there have also been sociological studies done of this, because the backlash was so quick and so furious. And the feeling that I had, because so much of my identity as a teenage boy was, as any teenage boy, is wrapped in what music groups you like and who you thought was cool. And suddenly the one I liked was like totally out. And people like got beat up because they liked disco, or it was something that was a matter of ridicule, and people called it gay, and this and that and the other. And the other thing too is that people that study this have by and large concluded that a lot of this backlash was actually driven by the fact that disco music was bringing to the mainstream a lot of voices that had previously been relegated to the background musically, like Black woman singers like Donna Summer. And so I think that, what does she symbolize? I think she symbolized a critical point in my life where a core part of my identity, looking back on it as an adult, of course, it seems superficial and silly. Who cares what anyone likes musically? But then when you're 12, 13 years old, and that's a core part of your identity, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Music is super powerful. It gets into us. And I often have songs in my dreams that are very meaningful, and music for me is very meaningful as well. And I love what you're saying about Donna Summers, with that time was a way that people were finding their voice, and that this was like a part of your childhood, like hark back to your childhood where you got to be, part of that. Something was unfolding that was really helpful. Like instead of having to hide things, like, certainly, all kinds of, the thing of being gay would have been a really, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was really dangerous.
Yeah. Especially in the backwoods of Kansas.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So disco, it brought a lot of the elements of, the sequence and the disco ball. There's these elements of expression, right? And so, like, is this something about like reframing my childhood, kind of like, or like living a different childhood? I love the Burke Breathed quote, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. Yeah. Like Donna Summers, is that something about being able to really express myself and live the life I want to? And given that it's recurring, I would just question myself if I'm you, Scott. I'm just like, why this message hasn't been sinking in? So is there something that is just like hard for me to believe? Like, pinch me, am I dreaming? Can't believe that I've gotten to this place. Amazing.
Yeah. And maybe that would relate to a whole sense of comfort with my identity, with as who I am and how I present and what I represent in the world. Amazing. I'm going to go to the last dream next.
Yeah.
And that has a completely different thing. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's all the same thing. So I always tell people, there's an apocalypse. You want me. I'm good during disasters. I'm reactive, but in a good way. I'm vigilant. I act fast. I'm tough. I'm strong. I will defend you. All these sorts of things you want me around. Now, you don't always want me around, but during that situation, you want me around. And in my dreams, there is usually, I'm in a dark, cramped space, maybe a basement or an attic or a decrepit room, maybe even this little studio apartment that I live in. I won't talk about that. And sometimes there have been nuclear bombs that have gone off. So sometimes it's a nuclear wasteland, but at other times it's just a more sort of crumbling metropolitan scenario. And there are attacks by zombies. And I am defending. They come by surprise. I slaughter them. Defensively, it's very scary. I'm terrified. It's a lot of close calls. And universally, ever since I've been with my significant other, my husband, the dream involves me protecting him, life or death. And these dreams are very violent. They're gory. I'm usually successfully defending, but there's never an end. Usually what happens is there's that last, zombie coming at me and then I wake up.
Right. Yeah. I so sympathize. I've had so many. I still have apocalypse dreams.
Oh, really?
Very common.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
For me, and for me, there's one of the things that sometimes comes up for me around these apocalypse dreams is it's me against the world, like the zombies, like you're thinking of the zombies, the people who don't get it, the people who don't get me, the people who are not on my side, people who are, who I don't get them. They're like, what? I just don't understand. And yet I don't feel safe. I can't keep myself away from that. Then another kind of motif. I mean, I'm being a little tender here because I guess I'll just go there because when the dream is difficult, I don't always ask the dreamer to go into the dream because it's horrific. Like, why would I want to do that? But so I guess I'm kind of dancing around that a little bit. So I'm just kind of imagining what it would be like rather than asking you to imagine yourself in the middle of that dream.
I'm just
going to talk. Okay.
I'm game. My audience wants it, and they're going to need to be able to do it themselves when they reach out to you after this is all over. So,
well, I want to say that it's one of the ways to do with it, to work with a dream that's difficult like this is to kind of imagine the dream off to the side. So you're looking at the dream. So you're even looking at yourself. And as you're seeing yourself fighting off these zombies and protecting your husband, just like look at yourself and how hard you're working and how scary it is. And see if if you have some compassion for yourself there. If you have some none. Oh, none. So tell me what comes up when you see yourself. Just like vigorousness, buck up and get over it.
Yeah, the vigorousness of the fight. I don't have time to think about that. I need to protect my husband and nothing else. And I need to conquer, make sure that these things are destroyed.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like you're in the dream itself. Yeah. It's hard to even actually separate yourself from the dream. It seems like so you're actually in it. I have to be vigorous. I have to defend. I have to kill these zombies. Yeah. And so I feel really tender about that. But I want to say, is there some of this familiar in waking life? Is there a sense that I have to be vigorous, that I have to defend?
Yeah. Because we're going there and because I want to help people, I'll reveal, yes, there have been, I was raised I had a very, very difficult childhood. Yeah. It was very painful and I was not able to, I didn't have anyone to come to my defense.
Mm-hmm. So, right. You had to speak up for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And what you've got me wondering is if my husband, talking about the man in your dream, right? Like maybe my husband in the dream is representing a part of me that felt I had no defense. And so maybe there's some sort of psychological splitting going on. Or I don't know.
Well, or maybe maybe he helped lift you up to the second men's store, because, you know, the second one is something that's that there's things opening up, that there's like a place I get what I want. Like there's this success here instead of being stuck in the anxiety of the lower men's store. But so I want to just say that when I see you, when I see and I imagine this dream for you, that I feel a lot of compassion for you. And that maybe you can't feel it for yourself yet. Maybe it's not needed, but maybe there's just something about how hard that you do work, and that this vigorousness is a gift. It's an enthusiasm. It's fabulous. And yet there's a lot of terror underlying it too. And is there some way that I can embrace the energy of my life and find a way to inhabit it from a place of like gushing forth from me rather than fighting off the zombies? Wow. I'm a little bit stepping out of the therapist role here just to kind of reflect what I'm thinking, which I wouldn't necessarily say to a client, but there's something here that I feel a lot of compassion for the person in the dream. So I'm not going to say you, I'm going to say the person in the dream who has no rest and doesn't even see that what they're doing, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. This is what I have to do. This is what life is. Yeah. And I just feel like a lot of tenderness for this person who is, and he has this loved one that he's protecting. Yes. And so there is a way that relationship is possible, but there's like a lot of zombies to slay. And that just brings to me a lot of tenderness. And yet there's hopefulness. Like that very first dream you brought is such a gift. Like I feel like that if you know what it's like to be in the department store where nothing is what I want and nobody's here to help me, and yet I know how to go up. So that, you know, being in a department store is not a very complicated scenario where compared to being with the zombies and killing all these. And yet somehow, somewhere, Scott, I'm holding the space that there is a way up. Because you've demonstrated in that first dream and even the second dream where you found this whole part of yourself that you never even knew existed. And then you came and you found this perfect 12-inch single that really represented joy, you know, the joy of the boy. Even if I didn't get to feel that as the boy, as an adult, I found that. I'm finding it in my life. So these zombies, I just feel like there's a lot of tenderness about these zombies and knowing that this is where the dreamer is right now. And it's valuable. It's absolutely vital to stay alive. And so I see that you're in there fighting the good fight and that you are doing what you need to do. And you're found love at the same time. And I love that he shows up in the dream because that is a sense of love. In some ways, your husband there is playing the role of an ally. Mm-hmm. Like if you acknowledge that he's there, he's also, you know, your waking life partner, but there's also a way that this is one of those fingertips of the divine or an avatar of the divine. And as you team together, that maybe the zombies will start to recede, that there's a way that this is a relationship that you have led into your life and into your soul. 'Cause here he is in the dream.
And worth fighting for.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. So that is what you just said there. I am worth fighting for. That's the kind of thing that you can take into your waking life and say, yeah, I'm fighting really hard here. And, you know, I'm worth fighting for. This is important. What I'm doing here is important.
Thank you for that.
And maybe someday there'll be an easier way, but maybe this is where I'm at. And this is how it is right now.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
As well.
So
wow.
It feels like this has been a kind of a whirlwind but thank you for bringing these really vulnerable dreams and being willing to explore what comes up for you. And I'd be, you know, curious as you mull them over, if your dreams evolve, because that's what happens when we open up a dream and we honor it, saying this dream is a gift. This dream is sent by the allies. This is sent by the consciousness. And as I honor this dream, the next dream ends up being part of the conversation.
Wow.
So that's how we do the dream work.
Wow.
Is it becomes like part of the conversation. You bring it into your waking life, and then you have another set of dreams. Like maybe these recurring dreams might shift. Maybe they persist. Maybe they're still there. But it'd be interesting to record your dreams going forward to see how they change, because it does become a conversation.
Speaking of conversation. Wow. Yeah, I have to go move into the next question. I'm going to be processing this off camera, just so everyone knows.
Right. So this is perfect, Scott, because this is like, okay, we have this whole thing that's been opened up and there's zombies to slay. So let's get to it. And see, this is why it's valuable. This zombie slaying that you're doing is valuable, because you move forward and you're like, okay, I'm going to do the next thing.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that a brilliant insight. I never thought about behavior patterns at this level that way, but you're right. This is fine. Okay. We've got to move on. Now, there are people that are going to listen to this or watch this, and they're going to be affected by what they heard or observed. And they might feel stuck or stagnated in their lives. They're looking for meaning in their dreams. If there were 2 or 3 tips that you could just give them, some takeaways, so they could begin to use their dreams to get out of that place, what might those tips be?
Well, number 1, write your dreams down. Dreams are ephemeral. They disappear. 5 minutes after you're awake, it's gone. So if you wake up in the morning, get yourself a journal and write it down. That act of writing the dream down is honoring the dream, and it will stimulate you to remember more dreams. So you don't have to work with a dream. You don't have to Google it or, draw it or whatever right away. Just only if you're inspired to, but first write them down and keep a record, and you'll be amazed to see how your dreams evolve and how your dreams reflect back to what happens in your daily life. And if you keep a record of your dreams, just by writing them down, you can start to see some patterns. So I would say that's number 1. You can also just share them with somebody else. Just say, I want to tell you a dream. I don't want any feedback. I want to say it out loud. And that's a way of embodying the dream and bringing it into your life.
It.
Yeah.
And then tip number 3, if you have any.
Yeah. Well, call me.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And then I work with people's dreams, and I do offer like a free introductory consultation if you want to see if it fits for you. Then call me or check out my podcast. I have a live radio show every week. And I do take call-ins because it's live, but then I archive it and I release it as a podcast on Monday. So it's called The Dream Journal, just like the journal you'd write your dreams in. So look up The Dream Journal. It's a pink logo, and my son helped me design it. And just listening to dreams, talking to other people about dreams, maybe not even about your dreams, just about the idea of dreams, can really stimulate a lot more memory of dreams. So listening to a podcast about dream will help you remember dreams more, which will in turn help you deepen your process, recognize patterns, and start to connect with the divine.
Powerful. Katherine, where else can people find out about you?
Yeah, so my main business site is experientialdreamwork.com. I'm also on Instagram at Experiential Dreamwork, and Facebook as well, Experiential Dreamwork. But really, you can send me an email. You can send it to krbell6@gmail.com, and that's you can contact me through my webpage, but those contact forms are a little dicey sometimes. Yeah. Things get lost. So check my email would be great. Am I forgetting something? I think those are the main things.
I love it. Katherine, it has been great taking a ride with you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And for everyone tuning in, if you like this episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave a review on Apple or a comment on YouTube. And I will see you next time for another trip down the Purpose Highway. As this episode comes to a close, I'd like to take a brief minute to thank everyone who has been a part of the Purpose Highway journey every single step of the way. It has been an incredible ride. During the course of this podcast, we have interviewed everyone from fashion icons to astrophysicists to New York Times best-selling authors to academicians to people that have just lived extraordinary lives, all the while finding purpose, connection, deeper levels of spirituality, ethical transcendence, and a way to reinvent their very spirituality. For those who have been guests, we have appreciated everything that you've shared. For those who have listened or watched, we appreciated your time, attention, and your feedback. And to my sponsor, it's NOLA. We have appreciated the incredible goodness of the granola balls that you make and that you have shared with the world. Although this is the end of Scott Mason's Purpose Highway, I am not done with you yet. There's a lot more to come. Check me out on YouTube in the very near future, as well as on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn at s.scottmason. That's s.scottmason. And on Instagram at s.scott_mason. s.scott_mason. There are going to be a lot of exciting announcements on the way about what's to come. And I promise that the next journey that we take together will be the best yet. When you're racing down the Purpose Highway, we want to make sure you're healthy and happy every step of the way. That's why we're proud to partner with It's NOLA, 21st century plant-based healthy granola snack bites made with real ingredients and audacious flavor. It's NOLA crafts small batch hand-rolled granola balls that are vegan, gluten-free, and naturally low in sugar. It's NOLA's delightful bites come in 3 flavors: luscious cranberry coconut, sassy mango masala, and dark, decadent, chewy chocolate. It's NOLA is available to both individual customers and for wholesale accounts at itsnola.com. That's itsnola.com. Guests on this show are already enjoying this delicious snack. Check out It's NOLA's website for yourself and find out how good it is.